Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who, for the longest time, was a hardcore MAGA darling of Donald Trump, but recently drew his ire with her insistence that we release the full Epstein files and, of course, her opposition to his war against Iran. So Nancy Mace has fallen out of favor with Donald Trump, and that is not sitting well with her. Because Nancy Mace is also running now for governor of her state of South Carolina. She's in the primary mix. And Donald Trump several days ago decided not to endorse Nancy Mace and instead endorse one of her primary opponents, Lieutenant Governor Pam Evette. And Nancy Mace had what even conservatives are basically calling a complete multi-day psychotic breakdown on social media. More in just a moment, but first, a quick word from today's video sponsor. One of the easiest ways to keep people misinformed is not by hiding the story completely. It's by keeping the story visible while shifting everyone's attention to the least important part of it. You can see that in this Virginia congressional map case now heading to the Supreme Court. Some outlets are covering the actual issue, whether a voter-approved redistricting plan can be restored. Others are making the story about spelling mistakes in the filing like that's somehow the real thing people should care about. Same event, same facts, but a completely different sense of what matters and what doesn't. That's why I recommend Ground News. It's a website and app that pulls together reporting from across the political spectrum so you can compare headlines side by side, see the bias distribution of the coverage, check the factual ratings of the sources, and even see who owns the outlets behind the reporting. What I like about it is that it helps you catch when coverage is being used to distract instead of inform. You can see which outlets are focusing on the substance, which ones are pushing a narrative, and which ones are steering people away from the real issue entirely. Ground News also has a blind spot feed which highlights stories that are being underreported by one side of the political spectrum. That's especially useful if you want to know not just how a story is being covered, but which stories your usual media bubble may be skipping altogether. You can also personalize your feed by interest so it's easier to keep up with issues you actually care about. So go to ground.news/Farron or scan my QR code. Using my link gets you 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan, and you can also gift a subscription directly through Ground News. I see Ground News as one of the best ways to consume news, and I definitely recommend checking it out. So after Donald Trump decided to endorse Pam Evette over Nancy Mace for South Carolina governor, Mace decided to take her very hurt feelings to social media, where she spent 3 full days hammering out dozens and dozens and dozens of posts, whining and crying and trying to convince people that her record as a House of Representatives member was so good that she should be the next governor. Here's what people on social media had to say. So we can all see she's having a mental breakdown, right? Anyway, please get help, Nancy. And that was political writer and anti-disinformation activist Jim Stewartson. And then conservative consultant Justin Evans says, "You're watching a person completely lose touch with reality in real time. You've never witnessed a crash out this severe in your life." That is a Republican political consultant, Justin Evans, who says we have never seen an individual crash out the way that Nancy Mace is crashing out right now. And I disagree. Because this is actually not the worst crash out we have ever seen from crazy Nancy Mace. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that she had a major in-person crash out at that airport, right? Got all pissy because her car wasn't there. The security wasn't there. Even though they were there, she was just super late, without any regard to the lives and jobs of other people. And then she got into it with the TSA agents. And then, of course, there's the time when a transgender rights activist shook her hand, and then for the next 3 days, she's walking around in a sling claiming this guy assaulted her, even though the whole thing was on video, and we all clearly saw it was a gentle handshake, and she's like, oh, he dislocated my shoulder. Oh, dear me. Oh, Lord. Oh, God. Yeah, this is what Nancy Mace does. I mean, hell, I hate to talk about people's appearance sometimes, but look at her eyes. Nancy Mace has what we would call crazy eyes. And I don't mean her eyes are doing a Cash Patel and everybody's going in a different direction. I mean, you look in her eyes and you just see crazy, right? I know that's not a scientific, way to determine if somebody's normal or not, but come on. We all see it. We've all seen people like that where you just look into their eyes and you're like, yeah, stay away. That person's got a weird stare that leaves me feeling unsettled. That's Nancy Mace. I do genuinely believe there is something wrong with her. She has some sort, I believe, again, psychological problem that she is not getting treated for, obviously, and she needs to be. She could end up, based on her outburst, based on her lies, like, oh, he dislocated my shoulder. She could end up harming somebody else. She could end up harming herself. I mean, at this point, she may be somebody that needs to be Baker acted. An involuntary 72-hour psychiatric hold to find out what is going on with her. Because, yeah, the social media crash out that she's had for the last few days, not normal, indicative of a problem. The lying about the handshake, and that's not the first time she lied basically about being assaulted by a, person she didn't like. That's not normal. The meltdown at the airport, that's not normal. All of the other things we have seen from her over the years, not normal. So her social media crash out over the last few days for being snubbed by Trump, that is not, out of character for her. The problem is it's out of character for a human being, and Nancy Mace genuinely needs to get help. Thanks for watching, and if you are not already subscribed to the channel, please do so, and do not forget to like and comment and share widely among your friends.